Crazy Brave, step number 7. Return. You gotta leave your body if you want to make the after party. On a supernatural high, say goodbye. Let's start at the ending. Round and round I surrender to you. Round and round I surrender to you. Britt Manor.
My compass prayer. I have been given gifts that are leading me to help others through the art I create. This internal knowledge and wisdom, coupled with godly guidance, works to bring about good things all around me. Dear Universe, help me direct my steps today and plan ahead for the things you would like me to attend to this week. I will do my part to listen to your guidance for 10 minutes today. You are my compass. When I anchor into you, I am never lost. The Coda, Coming Back Home. The inevitable paradox of mankind is that all good things must come to an end. Things are born into existence and then eventually dissolve away. The ending of a song gives us time for important reflections as we remember the fullness of what came before. As songwriters with a completed song under our belt, there is a great feeling of accomplishment and also a bit of sadness that the ride is over. We know that under the best of circumstances, the process from birth to finished song brought tough moments when we had to confront parts of our inner artist. Now, as we listen to what we've created, there is a feeling of elation. At the end of a project, there are two separate paths to take. The first path is the one of return. There is an impulse to answer the call of return, where once again we are faced with new discovery and a feeling of excitement about the new project before you. The second path involves the launching of your music as it departs from you, making its way from person after person to be of service to whoever hears the message. As an example of the second path idea, my granddaughter, at the tender age of 4 years old, asked me to draw a picture with her when she was at my house. For about half an hour, we discussed our color choices, themes, and whether we were planning on using colored pencils or watercolors. After we were done admiring our finished creations, she ran over and pinned her drawing to the corkboard I had on the wall. Then she stood back and made a profoundly human statement. "You see, Lita, when I'm not here, I'm still here." And she was right. In her infinite childlike wisdom, she knew that when she goes home with her parents, her Lita usually misses her greatly. To soften my emotions, she offered assurance that her artwork stood in place of our mutual love for one another, that by looking at her picture, I would be reminded of her spirit, and by remembering the love I have for her, I would feel much better. Your songs become little snapshots of your heart song and a legacy of who you are. Think of all the great songwriters, musicians, and composers who came before you. Although we never personally knew composers like Mozart, Jelly Roll Morton, Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra, Benny Goodman, Ella Fitzgerald, or David Bowie, we have a familiarity, a closeness to them because they were willing to be crazy brave about their music, despite how difficult it was to persevere. Consequently, they blessed us with the heart of who they were in what they created. This connection of art and artistry is the hallmark of celebrity. We find a familiarity and attachment to artists because they were willing to let us see who they are in the art they produce, and we feel like we know them because on some level we do. A piece of your heart, reflecting the essence of who you are, stays inside your art. As you wind down through the coda of a finished song or project, remember that you have done the world a service by getting to the end. You have contributed to the fabric of all things by simply choosing to honor and love yourself by answering the call to write. Congratulations, I am very proud of you. Elements of the coda. Coda means tail in Italian. The coda usually repeats the same chord progressions that are in the chorus. It usually includes the theme of the chorus with yet another variation, as well as an obvious slowdown that tells us we've come to the end of the road. There may be a ritardando, a gradual slowing down of tempo, or a fermata, the holding of a note or chord. The coda is the ending payoff of a musical passage or movement that brings us down toward the last note. It may be as simple as a few measures, or as long as a complex section in a piece of orchestrated music. Lyrically, it can repeat the chorus with improvised ad-libs or vocal lyrical variations. Since the coda is a repetitive end section of the song, it should not exceed 15 to 30 seconds in length. Take the opportunity to close your song in a meaningful way. A great example of a powerful original coda are the 3 long notes held by Whitney Houston at the end of I Will Always Love You. Fragile Sting. The discussion around the table was a serious one. Multi-Grammy Award winner Gordon Sumner, otherwise known as Sting, was visibly shaken about the day's events and asking for a consensus among his bandmates. He had called the meeting to consider canceling a highly anticipated concert scheduled for that evening at Sting's home in Tuscany, Italy. The date was September 11th, 2001. The concert on the night of 9/11 marked a culmination of weeks of effort to prepare for Sting's new upcoming documentary film called All About Time. For 9 days prior, the crew had been busy filming, recording in the studio, and rehearsing for the concert that would be live-streamed to people all over the world. After a somber discussion, everyone around the table came to an agreement. They agreed that the music they would play at the concert would be a healing message for all those listening, that it was their unspoken responsibility to keep the music playing despite the heart-wrenching events of the day. They expressed their need to perform for their own healing and to honor those who had died in the worst terrorist attack in U.S. history. As the band carefully considered the set list of songs they had prepared for the evening, they all agreed to open with the song Fragile. Fragile was originally written and recorded 14 years earlier, when Sting was inspired to write the song about the heroic efforts of Ben Linder, an American civil engineer killed by the Contras in early 1987 while working in Nicaragua. Mr. Linder's calling was to help the people of Nicaragua build a hydroelectric plant that would provide electricity for people consumed by political upheaval in their country. His death at the hands of murderers became a U.S. political talking piece for those opposed to war. The emotions of the event must have driven Sting to pick up his guitar and to write down the ache of what was in his heart. I can only imagine what he must have felt as he wrote the song about Mr. Linder. If you listen, you can hear the sadness in his beautifully crafted melody and the meaning in his poignant lyric. Sting had to be courageous and honest enough that day to write a song that reflected what he knew to be true in his heart. When he wrote, I suspect that he must have reflected on the pain of war. He must have considered the heroic efforts of a man who wanted to help others survive. He must have felt the sadness of those left behind. He must have thought about the senselessness of war since the beginning of time. And astonishingly, more than a decade later, the emotional core of the song honoring Mr. Linder was used again for healing as the lyrics eerily portray the evil events of 9/11. On that day, we felt the pain of war. We felt the heroic efforts of the firefighters who helped others survive. We felt the collective sadness of those left behind. We thought about the senselessness of war since the beginning of time. Ironically, Sting has always been a great believer in synchronicity, and he even entitled 2 albums by the name. And so on the night of 9/11, he met himself again through time in the art he had created years earlier. When you write a song, it can have enormous implications. You might think you have a simple idea for a song with cool lyrics attached, but don't take your muse for granted. You might just write a song that moves millions to feel joy or to heal sadness or to help others gain strength. The colliding events of synchronicity just might meet you at some future predetermined appointment for a particular purpose. As a songwriter, you do not know the outcome when you are writing. We are sure Sting didn't know the full value of his work until it was needed fully, but we know he wrote what was honestly in his heart. You must do the same. Music is spiritual service. I have heard countless stories of how one song changed a broken heart, stopped someone from committing suicide, or brought people together all over the globe. The properties of net love, partnered with the creative process, offer a special type of time travel. A song you write today may change a life 30 years from now, and it was perhaps designed and solely written for the purpose of reaching that specific person at just the right time. That's how phenomenal and magnificent music is. Although most people take music for granted because it's always there, like water and air, Peripherally, we understand its power in either its absence or its application. Just try watching Star Wars without John Williamson's musical score, or the baptism scene from the movie The Godfather without the passionate organ in the background. The scenes would never have been the same. My husband was the only son of a Baptist minister. He grew up watching his father give sermons every Sunday, counsel families, and lead Bible study. He watched his mother bless people by lovingly preparing food and raising money for young women to attend college. It was obvious to those who knew these two remarkable people that their youthful appearance at 90-plus years had something to do with their daily spiritual practice, kind hearts, and service over a lifetime. The desire you have in your heart to write a song is a calling to serve others too. As artists, we get to offer what comes naturally to us as music ministers and melody missionaries, able to provide moments of respite and healing that are so needed in our world. Songwriters are currency holders of this thing called love. Imagine that the biggest bank in the world holds as its prime currency and most precious asset the fullness of love. Imagine that songwriters are one of its top shareholders. The songwriter's job, as responsible keepers of this precious revolving commodity, is to manage and listen to the needs of its customers, keep their pulse on trends, and work on educating themselves about coming trends in the music banking industry. The songwriter's prime working capital is given out in hundreds of ways, as a delicate lyric, a heart-stopping melodic line, or a driving, passionate guitar solo with a heavy message. We offer what we have in our hearts, and the commodity of love pours from us as an offering, as a money exchange, and as a prayer. Music and life are a mathematical exchange of giving and receiving. As McCartney writes, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Maybe that's why we talk about love so much in the songs we write. Having love, losing love, trusting in love, making love, getting love, stopping love, hating love, my personal favorite, and of course, being in love. We know scientifically that music impacts our emotional and physical centers as it inspires us to dance, soothe cancer patients, calm babies in the womb, and encourages Alzheimer patients to sing. We know that music is cultural because it binds people together in families, communities across nations, and on a global level. We know that music is religiously powerful because it is used to prepare the congregation for the Word of God. We know that music is a communication device between an artist and audience, teacher and student, and friends. And we know music marks traditions like marriages, funerals, and birthday parties. Be conscious of the passion in your heart, your love currency. Be honored that you've been selected and called to use this dynamic art form that has the potential to cross time and space. Without you even knowing it, your internal passion for writing and playing music will take you places you can't even imagine, connecting you to events you've never dreamed of. The act of songwriting is a powerful spiritual vehicle of communication. If you are called to write songs and play music, it is because you must. The infinite wisdom of net love is available to you as support if you simply ask. Use what you have and give what you know to be a contributor toward healing a difficult world. If you do that, the creative art of songwriting will continue to make you happy and youthful over a lifetime. Soundtracks with legs. Everybody loves music, except for one guy I met back in 1981. I was working for the city of Los Angeles as a library clerk, shelving books in the history section, when I had an odd conversation with one of my coworkers. He told me point blank, and with an inexpressive stance, that he didn't like music. Not any music at all? Wait, what? I thought I might have heard him incorrectly, so I asked again. I got the same answer. How could this be, I thought? After all, music is the language of men, beasts, and babies in the womb who love Bach. I walked away baffled by the idea that music was nothing for this person. How sad. This poor man had no idea about what he was missing. My brain tried to piece together the mystery, like Ripley's Believe It or Not funny room, where some people look smaller than they really are. Maybe this was more of a statement about where he was in his life, or maybe he had some sort of brain deficiency. I picked the latter, but I could be wrong. Interestingly enough, I looked it up and found that there is a name for this neurological condition. It's called musical anhedonia. and refers to the lack of connection between the brain's auditory processing and the pleasure centers in the brain. However, for the rest of the human population, music represents the soundtrack of our lives. We don't digest it the same way as we did in the 70s, pre-iPod days, when music was a social event in our homes and only a handful of artists dominate our attention. Those years were great because we bought albums, looked at the artwork, and stood in long lines to get our hands on the music we loved. Although the core of our individual listening tastes have not changed that much over time, the sheer number of songs available is now a lot wider. It is remarkable what music means for our global culture because it is now more far-reaching and accessible. Despite the current trends, we come back to the power of music as it continues to soothe our anxious hearts, lift our spirits and community, heal our bodies, and be used as a connective topic of conversation with friends over a good meal. Each song you create has legs on it. It is now an open world, where your song can be savored by someone in Australia while you work on your next EP in Arizona. A young, underserved youth in London might stumble upon your song one day, and it might help him get through the night while you are sleeping in your nice, warm bed in Missouri. Net Love is working overtime to make a multitude of connections between the music you create and the need for healing on this planet. The 17-Mile Drive. In Pebble Beach, California, there is a place of wonder and beauty called the 17-Mile Drive. It's a stretch of beach that is known for its sweeping shorelines and swirling cypress trees. In the summer of 2016, my family traveled to Northern California, and I finally had a chance to visit the prestigious drive. "What are we going to do there?" asked my granddaughter. "I don't know," I responded. "Then why are we going?" she probed. "I heard it was beautiful there, and I've always wanted to go." That seemed to stop the inquiries for the time being. When you first enter the 17-Mile Drive, there is a polite forest ranger at the toll booth that gives you a map and takes your money. On the map are 22 points of interest, complete with a short history lesson outlining each stop along the route. This trip was a first excursion for each of my family members, and so I offered to play the role of resident in-car narrator for the journey. Our next point of interest is the famous Lone Cypress, which has been standing for more than 250 years, I said. At each point of interest, the 5 members in our party would get out of the car and enjoy the scenery. Some of us would make our way down to the shore to play in the water, others would sit on a bench introspectively. My son would climb rocks to get a better view of the shoreline. We each wanted to choose our own experiences as we took in the expansive beauty of the California trees and surf. After some time at each stop, we would shake off the sand, get back into the car, and talk about our individual experiences. It was clear that when we entered the car after each adventure, we were filled with awe and a sense of happiness for having had this opportunity to enjoy the sun. Then it was off to the next point of interest, with me narrating along the way. Some of the points of interest didn't look too interesting enough for us to stop, and as a group, we decided to keep moving along until we arrived at the next one. At the end of the 17-Mile Drive, we ended up where we had begun, once again at the gate. But just before we approached the exit, we had an option to either enter the park once again by making a quick left, or simply drive past the outgoing gate, tipping your hat toward the forest ranger and thanking him for his part in the memory of the experience. Creating music in your life is much like the 17-Mile Drive. I imagine that each of us arrives at the toll booth at the beginning of our life, excited about what we might discover in the journey ahead. The nice forest ranger hands us a colorful road map, complete with outlined points of interest, history descriptions, and a narrator to be with us along the journey. During our drive, we have lots of choices to make and a journey to experience. Our creative gifts in particular are already blueprinted into our map, but it is up to us to use them however we choose. As you travel through life dedicated to your music, here are a few lessons that the 17-Mile Drive taught me. You will have to give something to get something. Just as you have to pay a fee to enter the 17-Mile Drive, you are going to have to give up something so that you can pursue your art more completely. The giving up of something is a signpost to the universe that you mean business. Maybe you'll have to give up a set of old beliefs or those expensive Starbucks lattes each morning so you can save money for your album project. Think about what you need to give up in order to have the privilege of honoring the music you were preciously given to make. Something greater will be required of you so that you can step fully toward your dream. Truthfully, the sacrifice of giving up something is not really a sacrifice at all, because what you get in return far outweighs the things you have to give up. But you won't know that truth until you give up something first. There will be people who will question your motives. As my granddaughter did with me, there will be people who wonder why you are spending time and money on some artistic project they don't fully understand. Simply state the obvious and let them know you are ready to live the life you want. No one can argue with that perspective if you stand your ground. Be clear, confident, and steadfast about what is calling you to engage in your music. No one but you will understand the importance of your unique calling. Listen to the narration. There is a voice guiding and informing you, that is, if you are listening, about situations that are coming up. This narration shows up as thoughts, impulses, pictures in your head, and knowing moments. Maybe your creative spiritual manager is sending whispers. Write the narration down in your journal, even if it doesn't make sense. Regularly refer back to these written words, statements, and prompts. They are telling you something, and you will get the message eventually. Travel with companions. Your friends, music collaborators, and mentors are among your trusted companions on the road. Dream and talk about the musical things you wish for yourself and listen to what they have to say. Compare notes and help each other as you go along. You can't plan exactly what you will do when you get there until you get there. Songwriting is created in the moment. You can plan, plot, and otherwise try to write a song from top to bottom in one take. But for the most part, art happens now, as the flow of creating moves through you. With eagerness and an open heart, move ahead to the next musical thing in your life. Don't expect a specific, concrete outcome. Remain open and alert to the present moment you are in. Have some fun meeting the new guitar player on your project, or be amazed at the cool breakthrough moment you have while working on your music. There is nothing to be afraid of. Expectations and preconceived notions make you afraid. Don't be afraid. Simply put one step in front of the other and walk headfirst into the mystery and the new experiences. You have your own unique perspective. Your life is a collection of experiences that shape how you think and who you are. Just as my family members went their own ways at each spot along the 17-mile drive, you will have your own experiences that are completely different from others, even those close to you. Step out and challenge yourself. Don't expect to see things the same way others do, because that's impossible. Savor the experience. Choose to be present in the moment as much as possible. Notice everything as you move along the journey. Savor each day by being present when you are in the recording studio, on stage performing in front of an adoring crowd, or in your room with pen and pencil in hand. Stay awake and don't self-medicate. As they say, the same wave never washes up on the same seashore twice. If you do miss a moment on the 17-mile drive, life will grant you another turnaround where you can experience it all again. The speed of the journey is up to you. The Hero in Me. If you rise up and look over the points of light and darkness throughout your life, you will know that you've been a hero in your own life song. Years ago, when I received my cancer scare, I took the first step in my own hero's journey by asking God, "Why am I sick?" Then I listened carefully to universal guidance that told me to return to my music. As I continue to commit to living a life as a songwriter and music entrepreneur, I am devoted to listening and remaining in connection with the calling in my spirit. Over and over again, I have had to return to the divine sunrise of new preludes as I evolve into new phases in my creative life. Each time you ask for support from Net Love and connect to the sacred parts of yourself, your creativity will gain strength and momentum. This is the meaning of crazy bravery, to take a small step ahead, knowing that the support of the universe is always flowing with you. Crafting a song has all the elements of a grand hero's journey. Each song you create has a backstory and a character who challenges themselves to be strong, to understand something more deeply, and to find an answer. From the first spark of a note, music tells a story about the human condition, adapting, overcoming, and finding new ways to live a life of loving. My wish is that the lessons in this book have helped you understand the power of your creative center so that you can find crazy bravery in yourself to do what has been placed in your heart. The rules of the journey never change as you mirror your life in the songs you write. Take this extraordinary opportunity for self-growth and healing. Your life is poetic, so look within. Your life is a song that tells the stories of the ocean and the moon and the stars. Your life is a metaphor for the music you create. You are a hero on a quest for music and challenges and allies and vision. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to share your dreams and gifts through the power of connection with others. Remain vigilant and steady and creatively strong by lovingly giving attention and time to your creative spirit every single day. Be crazy brave. Crazy brave step number 7, return, song food. Spiritual theme of this chapter. Creative beginnings and endings are inevitable. They give us time for reflection, preparing us for what is to come. On the tail of one ending is the seedling of another beginning. The takeaway. Honor and celebrate the ending of great work. You deserve to be proud of your accomplishments and your heartfelt efforts. Thank all those people who supported you along the way. They may be your companions on another great journey in the future. You are an unbelievably blessed creative artist who does what many people will not do, answer the calling in their hearts. Always do your best. Your music will be of service to many people in ways you can't even imagine. Crazy brave action. Celebrate, contemplate, and rejuvenate. If you have set some creative goals for yourself and have pushed through to make them happen, make sure you carve out some time to celebrate, contemplate, and rejuvenate before returning to another creative project. Your creative muse is proud of you for doing your best, and it now longs for rest and reflection as you dream of new grand possibilities. After some rest, begin to dream again and feel the excitement of new beginnings. Don't wait too long to return to what you love. Your song is calling.
We hope you have enjoyed this unabridged audiobook entitled The Crazy Brave Songwriter, A Spiritual Guide to Creative Songwriting, read by the author, Lisa M. Arreguin. Additional narration by Joey Arreguin. This program was produced and recorded at Love and Laughter Music Studios in Anaheim, California. Information regarding this book can be found at livingcrazybrave.com. Executive Producer, Lisa M. Arreguin. Chief Engineer, Josh Arreguin. Text copyright 2018 by Lisa M. Arreguin. Production copyright 2018. All rights reserved. Thank you for listening. We hope you have enjoyed this unabridged audiobook entitled The Crazy Brave Songwriter, A Spiritual Guide to Creative Songwriting. Read by the author, Lisa M. Arreguin. Additional narration by Joey Arreguin. This program was produced and recorded at Love and Laughter Music Studios in Anaheim, California. Information regarding this book can be found at livingcrazybrave.com. Executive Producer, Lisa M. Arreguin. Chief Engineer, Josh Arreguin. Text copyright 2018 by Lisa M. Arreguin. Production copyright 2018. All rights reserved. Thank you for listening.